Hi there, my name is Alex, and welcome to the 2025 January monthly spread BUJO thingamajig, also known as Oh Shit January's in 2 days. Let's do this! January 2025, the beginning of the new year, and the signpost that the last year has finally ended. Dear God, thank fuck. I had a lot of plans going into this wondrous world of BUJO for the next year, and while I was doing my little concept sketches in my sidebook, and even right until the end, about 3 or 4 days ago, I was still juggling between whether I was going to go for a more nature theme, full of plants and shit, or if I was going to go with a theme that you see slowly coming to life before you. Something I like to call newspapers and typewriters and ink and shit, because I just wanted to look cool, kinda old-fashioned, and delightfully messy. This was my first ever foray into the wondrous world of stamps, and I've only very recently entered the wondrous world of fountain pens. I figured, what better way than to get a little experimental, get a little messy, than to do a theme that was all about having a little bit of scuff. The cover page, the cover spread. In all of the BUJOs you see on YouTube, the one thing the cover spread always has in common, beyond the obvious of stating whatever month that it is for, is that it's superfluous. It marks the beginning of a new chapter. It makes it look pretty. It is what divides each theme from each other. The covers page is essentially non-essential, and that is why I needed a 2-page spread. So what I decided to go with, on the left-hand side, I decided to draw an illustration of an old-fashioned typewriter, because my intention there was in the paper at the top to stamp in a little quote. And the quote I ended up going with, because I am a quirky, snarky individual, is "Thou shall not take shit." I saw it on the evil website Pinterest, and I figured, you know what? Dibs. But yeah, the reason I went with that quote, it's, it's kind of a good little motivational thing of, don't let people walk on you, because I am in fact secretly a doormat, but also because I'm snarky and I like, I like a little bit of cheekiness. I like a little bit of spice, a little bit of flavour to the quotes that I'll be sprinkling throughout this book over the years. What can I say? I am extra, as are the quotes in my book. And yeah, so, once I got the quote in, we got Jan on the other page, and then I just went in with a couple of washi tapes. I'm using the same scribbling wood washi tape that I used in the 2025 yearly setups, but I also got some newspaper and some plaid and some little writing washi tapes to kind of add a little bit of extra flavour throughout the piece as well. On to the next page. This page I have given a title so clear, so extraordinary, so unique, it will blow your mind. That's right, this page is aptly titled Calendar, because it has a calendar on it. I never said I was good with words. But yeah, this here is the calendar spread, and it is quite literally what it says on the tin. There is a calendar on it, and I'm gonna use it like I use a calendar, just like I used my wall calendars in the past. I've always been a wall calendar person, and now that I'm getting into the BUJO, I really want to start doing those same things in here, instead of relying on a wall calendar that falls down every month because the walls are garbage. And yes, I am blaming the walls and not the hook that I used to put them on. Yeah, like, you can't see it in the videos that I'm showing you on screen, but I have already started filling it out. This is where I'm putting like little important things, like maybe events at work, or the day I have to flea and worm the kitty cats, or bin nights, and small things like that. Calendars are always very useful. Having this calendar in here will encourage me to open it more often and really see what's going on and get kind of that month at a glance happening. And as for the detailing, I went with all of the different washi tape varieties. I've got them along the sides on this spread, and then I went absolutely ham and ape shit, the inks and the splotches and the stamps, and I gave it that nice rustic messy look that the rest of them have got as well. I'll admit, I'm quite chuffed with how it looks. It hit that right degree of messy, but not, oh dear God, please stop, why? Major events. Now I must ask, what does one consider major events? What would fall under this half-page header? Yeah, I'll be honest, this next spread is another exactly what it says on the tin spread. Major events is quite literally just major stuff coming up in the month, whether they're doctor's appointments, birthdays, friend events, like just important things that I need to attend. Like, if the calendar is kind of everything at a glance, the major events are the stuff that like they're important, like they matter enough to get a new list on the next page. And then of course below them I've split the bottom part into halves again, so they've got two little quarters at the bottom, which is my goals for the month and bills. Goals is just things I would like to get done by the end of the month, but of course being a BUJO, I'm not trying to guilt trip me into the ether. If I don't complete it, depending on what it is, alright, we'll just migrate it to the next month and so forward. But of course a couple of them do need to be completed this month just because they are based on a time gate. For example, some of my goals coming up, I am currently doing a Cert 4 of accounting because my day job is paying for it, and I am very much in the wondrous ballpark of if I don't have to pay for it, I'll learn whatever you want me to learn, sir. So my goal is to finish the first and second units by the end of January. For anyone looking at me right now going, 2 whole units, are you insane? It's okay, I've almost finished the first unit entirely in December. I've only got one assessment left. It's just finish that off, do that last assessment, and then crank out the second one. So the real goal is the second unit, because I haven't started that yet, but I've got like the tail end of the first unit, so you know, may as well include that on the goals. Make 3 videos. You know, I've got a couple of cheeky sub goals, like hit 100 subs, so you know, if you want to help bring me into the triple digits and make me a cool kid, I would not be against the thought of you committing a cheeky little like and subscribble and a ding of the bell below. But yeah, a couple of sub goals, and of course a couple of commission goals as well. Got a couple of VTuber models in the pipeline, so my goal is to finish 1 rig and finish 1 art by the end of the month. And of course, bills are exactly what you would assume would be in the bills category. What's charging me money? I get paid monthly as well, so this is just literally one big chunk of on payday, what money runs away immediately. Because like anyone who has a job can attest, payday is notorious for like, oh my god, I have so much money, 5 minutes later, well, that was nice. And of course, on the next page over, we have the habit trackers. Now, what makes this page different from the habit trackers in the beginning and the yearly spreads that I did previously is that these ones do not necessarily need to be carried to the end of the year. If I end up finding them useful, I will carry them over to the next month and continue onwards, but ultimately, if they end up either not being used very much or, you know, exceeding their usefulness, then they'll just be left behind and they won't be remade in the next month going forward, etc. So I guess you could say these are the habit trackers that I wanted to track, but I wasn't 100% sure if I'd be willing to commit to an entire year for them, like say keeping my ass on board with commissions or keeping my writing habits up. So, of course, the first temporary tracker I've put in is chores, because I never said I was good at priorities. Chores, ideally I want to build the habit up. I am pretty good. I am decent at keeping track of chores, but sometimes if a hyperfocus hits, executive dysfunction is like its little brother that moves in without permission at the same time. So I tend to struggle on doing the chores because my brain is too busy screaming shiny at me, and the rest of my brain just is drowned out no matter how much it screams and begs for me to do the dishes. So I've got things like dishes, vacuuming, changing the litter. Luckily I don't need to do that very often because I went out of my way to get an automated litter box, because tasks are hard when they're not in the hyperfocus zone. Of course, take out the bins, general tidy out, just chores really, like it's 100% what it says on the tin. Next habit tracker is BUJO use. So this one I am not actually expecting to carry to the end of the year. I'm expecting to probably carry it through for a few months until I'm really locked into this habit. But right now, considering I'm very new to BUJOing, what I really want to do is I want to keep this habit going even after my brain is screaming shiny notebooks at me 5 times a day. So this little habit tracker is just to get that habit running. I've even got a dot for just opening the BUJO. Like I get a pat on the head if I open the BUJO, because that is certainly one step closer to doing something with it. Filling the trackers, so you know, if I fill in any of the trackers, that's a tick. If I do any daily or weekly loggings, that's a different kind of tick. And if I use the yearly spreads, so specifically anything other than the trackers, then that also gets a tick as well, since this, while filling the trackers is something I want to get into the habit of doing daily. Using the yearly spreads, a lot of them are more review based, kind of start of the month or end of the month. They're not going to be used every day. It's kind of, they've got a special little tick, so on days that I do use any of them, it's good to know. And of course, the third habit I want to track is dinners. And the reason I've chosen dinners and not like food in general is because generally in the daytime, I'm quite glued to my terrible habits. I have a very select menu of things that I like to get. I have a certain lunch thing I like to get, a certain drink I like to get on breaks because, you know, I work full time. Dinners is really the only major variable, and because it's a major variable, I tend to Uber Eats a little bit too much, and I'm currently trying to force myself to move more to TV dinners or microwave meals because at the very least is a lot cheaper, and ironically it's probably a little bit healthier just because there's veggies in it, whereas I tend to automatically go towards like just meat if I go on via like Uber Eats or a DoorDash or any of those like food ordering apps. So I'm trying to get into a more balanced diet, and if that means TV dinners every day, then god damn it, I will do TV dinners as much as I can. My purpose with this tracker really is to get into and track what I'm having, so I kind of get an idea of the frequency I'm going for these things. Am I Uber Eatsing too often, or am I having mostly TV dinners? Is it mostly leftovers, or have I actually made a food for once? So it's good to keep track. And of course I've also got one for whether or not I've eaten before 9 PM, just because when my brain hooks onto something, time becomes an illusion, and it is so easy for me to lose like 5 hours because I was drawing something or because I was working on something, and suddenly dinner is at 11 PM and I feel crook when I go to bed. I am trying to like eat dinner before 9 PM, and to really give some context as well, I get home at like 4:30 PM, so that is a lot of time to have dinner. I definitely deserve the guilt trip if I do eat later than that point. Snacking, I'm not even tracking at the moment, one step at a time. And of course, the final tracker I've got right now is content. This bottom one is less about building a habit and more of just generally keeping track of how often I work, for lack of a better word. I've got a dot for whether I've streamed, that's solely for my VTuber persona at the moment. You know, video planning, filming, editing, so that's all stuff for this channel here. Social media, that can be either or, that's probably more likely going to fall under VTubing than anything else. And other is just anything else that's content related that's not either video or streaming related. To-do lists. What do you think is in the to-do lists? I'll give you a hint, my dear and wondrous viewer. Stuff I need to do. I'm sorry, I'm a snarky bastard. That is why I got the quote, "Thou shalt not take shit." I should probably put in brackets under it, "from me." But yeah, so these to-do list is, I've split it into two categories, work life and personal. Literally, it's just stuff I need to do for work, I'm gonna put on the left-hand side, and stuff I need to do, you know, at home, I'm gonna put on the right-hand side. I haven't got anything in work life at the moment, just because I don't start back at work until the 6th. That'll start getting filled once I get back to work, and it's mostly going to be filled with tasks, you know, doing minutes and typical stuff because I'm an admin in my day job. And of course, on the personal side is stuff like I've got a really old haul of Monster High dolls that I really need to start putting on Facebook Marketplace and selling, because about 6 years ago I got really into one-of-a-kind doll making. I got way too many dolls, and then they've gathered dust for a half decade, and I think it's about time that they go to a new home, because I am absolutely not using them. I might keep a couple because I still want to do some oak dolls here and there, but I'm definitely not going to do a massive tub worth. So that is a huge thing on my to-do list. Reorganize the art hoard in general, just get rid of the dolls, vacuum. Technically I could probably check that one off as completed because I had left this place unvacuumed for a month. It was driving me mad, and yet I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But yesterday the stars finally aligned and I could clean my house. Yay! Declutter my shirts. I have a lot of zany shirts, and a lot of them I have not worn in a year, so I think it's about time to pass them on. Download my CSP assets because I had to reset my computer recently, which means I've got to download and sort them all over again. And then, you know, just like fill out my Penguin book because it's like my password address book, and, you know, little things like that. I'll probably keep filling this out as the month goes along as more things crop up, but yeah, that's just quite literally the whole purpose, is just stuff I need to do so I can kind of get it out of my brain and onto paper. Like most people out there, I am 100% confident I will remember everything, and then I I don't. Month in review. For anyone asking why the review page is before the logs, I can answer that very simply in that as I was planning these, I wasn't sure if I was gonna do logging. I did end up making the first page for the logs anyway, because I want to see how much I use it for, and I will just be replicating that as I go through. But as I was planning this, I didn't account for them because I wasn't sure whether or not I would do them. Plus, it just looks nicer having all of the proper spreads at the beginning of the month, and then that way all the logs can kind of peter on afterwards. The first thing on here is a massive mood tracker, because curiosity, I want to get a glance on what my moods are over the month. I don't know if I will carry this mood tracker to the end of the year, but like, if it tickles my curiosity, it'll stick around. It's a nice thing to have in a review section, and it covers some space. And near the bottom, I've got a section for the best bits, so what were my favourite parts of the month. That won't get filled in until the end of January. Jan's tea, because there wasn't room for a monthly tea or January's tea, but essentially in Jan's tea, what was the drama that happened in the month? It's kind of like a reskinning of worst bits. Like, I didn't want to have a worst bits section because that would just make me sad, but like the tea was what crazy shit went down this month. I would bet coin that at least one dot point in here is going to have something to do with my workplace, because I work at an office. And anyone who has ever worked at an office before can absolutely agree with me in saying there is always tea in an office, because shit always goes down. So that section's for tea, and that way it'll help me reflect as well on the month. And of course, in the notes section, originally this section was called Notes for February, but of course there definitely wasn't enough space with the stamps, so it just became notes. And so this is stuff that, like, what worked in the month, what didn't work in the month, what kind of notes should I carry forward when I'm doing the planning for February spreads, etc, etc, etc. With the design, as with every other page, because I've been keeping them cohesive, I've got the washi tapes at the top, and I've got the little damp splatters here and there to help give that page that same cohesive life as the others. And finally, flipping over, we enter the weekly log. With this page, I decided to keep it pretty simple. I've just got weekly log stamped at the top, some washi tape along the sides and the top and bottom to kind of give that little bit of decoration, and then put 2 columns in each, and I've left it open. And I'm just going to try and bullet journal properly, and I'm just going to see how it goes. At this stage, just knowing, I guess, my habits, it may be more beneficial for me to just do a week to-do list, but I'm gonna genuinely give this like daily logging thing a shot, see how far it takes me, and then that way when I get into February spreads, I will have an idea of how much space I will need to accommodate for in the logs next month, or if I need to accommodate for them at all. So it kind of helps preserve the space of the books without just like assuming I'm gonna need 4 pages if I only fill out 1.5. And there we have it. January spread, all done and dusted. And I gotta admit, in review, I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I'll admit, the cover page was a hit and miss for me for a while because I went a bit overboard with the stamping, and then I tried to pair it back with the white, so it's much messier than the other pages. But luckily, with my white Posca and my white Sigma Broad gel pen, I was able to go back and just draw it back just enough that like it looked messy, but it didn't look too messy. It really borders on that fine line between like aesthetically loud and just loud. But the rest of the other pages I've managed to pare it down just enough so that it ends up being a bit more cohesive. There we have it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on my creative little journey into becoming a mild little smidgen bit more productive than I used to be. I do hope you enjoyed this little speed draw ramble video of mine. The next video I have coming up is about to expose just how addicted I've become to shiny notebooks. So if you enjoy my content and you find yourself with the urge to see some more, I do encourage you to stick around. Drop a cheeky little like and subscribe, as they say. To those wondering why I am relaxing in my chair today, instead of standing up and being all active as I have in my previous videos, the reason is quite simply because the original footage that I had actually recorded for these opening and ending seconds died, not because of a computer error, not because of anything really, because I forgot to turn my microphone on. So I yabbered at a camera for 40 minutes, and I didn't actually record any sound. Whoops. So here I am, editing Alex, panically re-recording the start and end, just so we can get into it. And there we have it, my January 2025 monthly spread of BUJO complete and ready for the filling. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.